Hey guys, this video is for educational purposes only. Please do not break the law.
Hello and welcome to the Growers MBA podcast. I'm Elliott Gorfain from Green Thumb Depot, and this week we're welcoming our special guest, Chuck Warner from STM Canna, to talk to us all about pre-roll solutions. And without any further ado, Chuck, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do over at STM Canna.
Hey, thanks, Elliott. I've been with STM Canna pretty much since the beginning. We are a company out of Spokane, Washington, which right now is being really hit hard by wildfires out west. But that's where we're based, and I've been with the company. That's my hometown, and I've been with them since we first started. And we just have a passion for creating machines that help people automate and make great products. It's just our Jason, the guy who runs the company. He's kind of like the mad scientist. He's the one who's designing and engineering these machines, getting them out in the field, getting the feedback from the people. And my role with the company is I kind of wear some different hats, but I help them out on the marketing, the media side, as well as some of that business development and partnerships. So yeah, it's a really cool company to be a part of. I think MG Magazine a couple years ago named us as one of like the best places to work in cannabis. And every year we're coming out with new machines and new products. And so we're not just resting on our laurels. We're constantly innovating. And I think that's a sign of a good company. They don't just put out a couple products and sit on them. We're constantly getting feedback and we're constantly hearing what the people in the field need. And we're trying to help them accomplish their goals, which is making great pre-rolls at scale and hopefully award-winning pre-rolls, but also helping them save on labor. Labor can be a really expensive part of making pre-rolls. It can be very labor intensive. And so I've had the privilege of getting to go out, meet with people, go into the field all around the world. Literally, we've got clients in South Africa. We have clients in Amsterdam. We have clients all over the US, North America, you name it. And every once in a while, we get to go and pop in and see how they're doing, see what their tech stack is. And so that's one of the cool parts of my job is I get to every once in a while go out into the field and talk to these people. And we really do learn a lot from the feedback we get from them, which then in turn goes into us trying to innovate and make new products.
Fantastic. Yeah, I love it. I'm a huge fan of VOC, voice of customer, and I absolutely believe that's the way that you make the best products. Listen to the customers, listen to the folks that are using them. They're going to give you exactly the information you need to keep up in your game. And
even if it's not good, you should embrace that feedback. You know what I mean? Like, I think some people, they don't want to hear if anybody has something bad to say about their product or their business or their customer service or their support or whatever, right? We're kind of different. Like, we want to hear everything because we think that is how we get better. If there's something that we can do better and we get that feedback from the field, then we take that to heart. And I think that's the mark, again, of a smart company that wants to continue to be in business, because when you stop listening to your customers and you stop listening to your partners, you're going to go the way of the dodo bird.
I could not agree more. So with that said, let's talk a little bit about the current state of the product lineup over at STM Canna. Yeah. I know, as you mentioned, it's evolving and that's fantastic, but where are we at now? And what would you say is your main customer base that you guys are catering towards, or perhaps there's multiple different customer bases that your product can handle and take care of?
Yeah, great question. So when we started several years ago, we were a little ahead of the times. Our first product was a $20,000 rosin press that there was no market for at all. So, okay, we were like, all right, we're not going to solve the world's problems with this yet. This was still 10, 15 years ago. But what really, I think, allowed us to make our mark was starting with products that people use. We've got a grinder. We've got our rocket box. That's the filler. That's kind of our flagship. And then eventually we added a closer and an infuser. So the thing about our stuff is that you can get one machine and you can use it standalone, right? So somebody could go and get our grinder. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, kind of what makes our grinder different. But somebody could use our grinder with somebody else's filler. Our stuff, it can mix and match. But really, what makes our stuff great is that it's all modular. It's all backwards compatible. And if your business grows, then this stuff is scalable, so it will grow with you. So you're never going to be in a situation where you're doubling your output and you're like, oh, this stuff doesn't work anymore. No, man, it's like Voltron. You just add a couple more pieces, and now the whole system is bigger and better. And that's one of the cool things about us. But really, it all started with the Rocket Box. Our very first Rocket Box, it would do 453 pre-rolls in under a minute. And basically, you're just pouring the material on there and using our proprietary system. It's moving all the material pieces around, kind of like Tetris, and filling all of those cones so that you have a consistent fill across the board. And in the beginning, we were doing 453. Man, that's a lot to fill in under a minute. And then the people would take them out and they would close them and do whatever they wanted. What we realized was that we needed to have one size kind of to rule them all. So that's when we moved to a 72 count tray. And that 72 count tray, yeah, you're going from 400 and some down to 72. But if you get a bunch of trays, now you can have almost like an assembly line system going where you've got one being filled with cones. You've got one on the Rocket Box being filled with material. You've got another one that's closing. You've got another one that's infusing. So you just keep the assembly line going. You get a bunch of extra trays, and now there's no wasted time. There's no wasted space as well, because these machines are all they're pretty compact and don't require a lot of extra stuff to get them going. But definitely, I would say our first thing really was the Rocket Box, which is kind of I think a lot of people, when they first start making pre-rolls, their entry level is probably like a knockbox or something like that, the Futurola. And ours really filled that space where someone says, okay, I get it. This is a nice little basic system. Ours does a whole lot more, and it was really an affordable upgrade for people that wanted something that was like a workhorse that would just sit there and just crank out pre-rolls all day long. And you asked about our customer. That's the cool thing, is that because our machines, you can mix and match, you can use them, you can set them up, you could double up a couple Rocket Boxes. There's so many different ways you can customize your tech stack that we literally work with boutique shops, little craft producers that are maybe just doing a few thousand pre-rolls a month, all the way up to like big MSOs. I mean, we've got people that are doing 1 million pre-rolls a week using our machines. So it's just getting it dialed in to how many people, what's your output, what's your size, everything like that. And then we can go and we can sort of customize a tech stack that works for you. But since we've been here and since we've been putting these products out and since we've been working with all the people, going to the trade shows, the MJ Bizzes, the ICBCs, doing all that stuff, what we found was that the industry right now, more than ever, needed something that had the ability to put out high volume, high quality pre-rolls, but that they needed to be able to get into the system a little bit cheaper, with things being tight right now, with funds, with prices of cannabis not being where we would want it to be across the board. We needed to have our STM quality, but it needed to be something that was easier for operators to get into. And that's where we came up with the RollCraft line. So the RollCraft line, it kind of, we just eliminated some of the kind of the bells and whistles and fanciness and just got right down to the core of our great technology at an entry level affordable price that people could get into. And that's really something that we're really proud of right now is having a line that allows people to have real serious semi-automated solutions, working with a great company, but they didn't have to go out and take out a loan for 6 figures to get into this equipment. Now we made it much more accessible, and the feedback that we're getting right now is just tremendous.
Okay, well, that's a lot of information. So just to distill it down, it sounds like, so the approach over at STM Canna is going to be a semi-automated modular approach where you're going to have your different workstations that are automated, but you'll have a human bring them to each individual workstation, which from my background in biotech and laboratory automation, that's oftentimes the best way to go, because then you don't have to worry about the whole system getting shut down if one aspect needs some servicing or something like that. So I definitely can appreciate the value of doing something in in a modular, automated way. And then you also mentioned that you have two different main product lines. One would be the STM Canna, which is more of your high-end commercial, and then your RollCraft, which would be more for the lower throughput customers that are just starting out with a lower entry point price. Which sounds great, and it sounds like both are really scalable too, because they're modular. It sounds like if you find that you have enough closers, but you need an extra packer, you can get one of those. If you need an extra grinder, but you don't need the extra other machines, it allows you to really scale in a way that fits your throughput. Is that an accurate statement then?
Yeah, 100%. And I think what you'll find in this industry, and you've probably heard this too, is that a lot of times people have a machine graveyard in the back of their facility, right? We got this and it just never worked, or, oh, we got this and now it's just a big paperweight. We don't want that to happen with our machines. And so we've got really, really good training, customer service. If you buy one of our machines, we're going to send one of our top trainers out there for 3 days. They're going to be immersed in your facility with your people. The first day, they'll be showing you. The second day, your people are doing it. The third day, your people are doing it and high-fiving and can't believe the numbers they're hitting, and our guys just sitting back watching. And by the time we leave, your team is really, really dialed in with how to use this stuff, because every place is different. Every facility is different environments, different humidity, different materials. If we've got people that are using our machines in Amsterdam, they're putting tobacco in there. That's a lot different than the people that are making pre-rolls, here in the US. Nobody's making spliffs. So, but once you get the training, and once it seems like every organization has like kind of their alpha, their top person on their pre-roll line, that once they get in there and then the others get dialed in, man, you're set, and you're just cranking out pre-rolls. The nice thing is you don't really have to sacrifice as much throughput with the RollCraft line, but to your point, you do definitely get in and get all those machines for a lot less. It's kind of like, have you ever rented a car from the lot and you get like a nice car, but it doesn't have all the bells and whistles as if you had bought it from the showroom or from the dealer? It's kind of like that. We might take a couple things off or get rid of this fancy little touchscreen or something like this, but the guts and the IP and the technology inside is still that same powerful STM Canna technology. It's just on a version that has a little less bells and whistles. So it makes it more affordable for people to get in. And then then they're rocking and rolling. Once you get dialed in, this is definitely not something that you just pull out of the box and you go. But once you get dialed in, like you were saying, that's semi-automatic, where you have one person that's doing 72 joints in a minute. They've got eyes on, and they can make sure everything's perfect before that tray goes to the next station to be closed with the perfect little Dutch crowns. Sometimes with those all-in-ones, man, you might be thousands of pre-rolls in before you realize there's a problem. And that's a killer, because here you get the eyes on and you get the quality control. And most everybody out there that's making pre-rolls, they really care about the quality of what they're putting out there. They don't want to just put crap out. And our machines allow you to have those eyes on each step of the way. And I think that's why you were saying the semi-automatic is really nice, because you get the automation, but you still have the eyes on and that quality control, so that you can maintain your standards of your pre-rolls.
So Chuck, you mentioned that you send out technicians to help with the commissioning process. Is there a particular threshold that they have to spend before the customer gets this sort of treatment? Because that's a fantastic value add. Having somebody who knows exactly what they're doing, going in, helping with setting it up and commissioning it, showing the little tips and tricks associated with machinery, huge value add.
Yeah, no, they don't have to buy a certain amount of machines or spend a certain amount. There's just we've got a hard cost associated with, sending the trainer out there, taking care of their flight, their hotel, their food, everything like that. And so it's just an add-on, but I wouldn't sell these machines to anyone without the on-site training, because as far as I'm concerned, that's an investment, right? Same thing as we offer like extended warranties and preventive maintenance plans. These machines are going to be working their asses off. These are like droids, right? You're cranking them all day long. You want to invest them. You want to have that preventive maintenance plan, or you want to have that extended warranty. So we offer those things as add-ons. they're just really, really smart when you're looking at these machines in the long run and how long you're going to be using them. And honestly, they sort of assimilate like a part of your staff. I mean, we did an ad campaign a few years ago, and it was like employee of the month at a cannabis company, and there was a picture of our rocket box up there with the little employee of the month. There it was, because they just crank. They just work. They don't call in sick. They don't show up hungover. They're just machines, but you got to take care of them, right? You got to maintain them.
Sure.
Maintenance is actually, it's pretty easy. Most of our machines, it's a little wipe down with some ISO and a rag, and that's about it. But you do have to, especially with like the atomic closer and stuff like that, you got some areas you got to put some grease. You've got some areas that you want to clean. And so we not only teach them how to use the machines, but how to maintain them, because these are investments, right? These are, in a way, some of your most valuable employees, and you want to really take care of them. And if you show them the love, I mean, honestly, we've tried to call people to sell them our new machines, and they're like, no, man, we got one from you 10 years ago. It's still going fine. And so it's like the Maytag repair guy. We're like, crap, I can't sell you the new one because the old one's still working. So I guess it's a good problem to have. But yeah, the training I think is really important, and also the education. We try to continually educate our people because things are changing. We're learning new things in the field. And again, like we were talking about earlier, we get that feedback loop and we like to share it with everybody out there. Obviously, we're not going to share proprietary information from one facility to the next, but just general ideas of how to get more out of these machines. We share that with the whole STM family. And like I said, I think we've got there's over 1,000 different businesses using our stuff around the world. And they just put out a list of the top pre-roll producers, and a good majority of them actually, I think over half of them, they were using our stuff in one form or fashion. So that made us feel really good that, again, sometimes it's a small operator, it's a craft, kind of a boutique type shop. But these other ones, man, these are some of the biggest names you've heard of, and they're using STM stuff either completely or as part of a tech stack or whatever. So we feel like that's a pretty good endorsement of our stuff, that it can work for all different sizes and it can kind of fit in all different regions, places, whatever. So I guess that's a good thing.
Fantastic. And just for those customers that maybe they're the RollCraft type customers, a little bit less funds in the bank, if they can't afford for the on-site training, I would imagine you guys would do some web training and be able to do something like we're doing here today and train the individuals.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do webinars. And so again, we're always trying to keep that feedback loop going both ways. We're trying to help our people out, get the most out of their machines. And again, they're giving us feedback so that we can design the next iteration, we just came out with the RocketBox 3.0. So we had our RocketBox and the RocketBox 2.0, and now we've got the 3.0, which has like a turbo motor, and it's designed for people that are making pre-rolls but have heavily infused material. So that's a different kind of material, right, than just your regular flower. So we need to have a different kind of machine to deal with that, because nowadays, I think you would agree, a lot of people out there, they like infused pre-rolls. That's become a big category out there.
Absolutely. So yeah, let's talk about the products. I think it maybe make sense to start from the beginning of the process. So maybe we can talk a little bit about the grinders, then go on after that, talk about filling and packing, and then finally we can finish up with the closing. Yeah, so tell me about your grinders and commercial level and maybe bigger ones, smaller ones. What options do we have, and what are the advantages of the grinders that you guys manufacture?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because you know how they say it's all in the grind? I think that when it comes to pre-rolls, that's pretty true. You want to have a good grind. A lot of the grinders that are out there now on the streets, they use, some of them out there use like a wire whip that whips around in there, and then every once in a while you have to replace that wire whip because it breaks down. Well, where's that plastic going, right? When that thing breaks down, it's going in your flour, it's going in your stuff. So I'm not a big fan of the whip type grinders that are out there. There's some other ones out there that they kind of smash the material, they extrude, and I'm not a real big fan of that either, because again, you're kind of beating the crap out of the flour. What ours is, actually, it sort of mimics when we would cut the weed with scissors back at home. And so you've got like basically two blades that oscillate and cut like scissors. So your material gets cut in the grinder without beating the crap out of it, and hopefully without picking up plastic along the way that's wearing down from a whip. So I think that ours are definitely, as far as for what you're looking to get out of your grind, I think they're the closest thing to cutting your stuff up with scissors. And the idea is you want to preserve, right? You want to preserve those terps. You want to preserve those cannabinoids. And we've actually had some third-party studies that show that our grinders do a better job than some of the stuff out there at preserving those cannabinoids and those terpenes. So that's I think something that's really important. We've got a tabletop version that is smaller, again designed for the small output, and then we've got a bigger one that's kind of like the size of a, I don't know, it's about the size of say a dishwasher, and it's a freestanding machine, but that thing will do all the grinding you need till the cows come home. And so it's a closed loop system too, which is nice. So you put your material in one end, it does its cutting, it all comes out on the other end. You get to adjust it, make sure it's the perfect size, the right everything that you're looking for. And there's not a lot of stuff getting into the air. There's not a ton because it's that closed loop system. It keeps all the stuff in there and also makes cleanup not a giant nightmare like some of those other machines. So that's the deal with the grinder. I think that a lot of people will skimp on grinders. They go, hey, I'm gonna save a buck on the grinder. But I would just caution you, because I think that most people would agree that grind is really, really important for what you want at the end of your process. That grind is pretty important. So make sure you get a grinder that's not going to beat the crap out of the flour, and make sure that it's something that's going to be consistent, because if you're going to make a lot of pre-rolls, you got to have a consistent grind.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I think I'm in the same age bracket as you, Chuck. When you were mentioning cutting the herb up with scissors, I think there's a fairly large cohort of individuals out there that probably have never even done that, now that we have all the grinders and the handheld grinders. And then previously your comment about Voltron, but hey.
Yeah. Form like Voltron, baby.
That's great, though. That's great. Yeah, and regarding slicing versus pulverizing, I guess is one way you could say it. Makes all the sense in the world. I mean, when you're doing something like you're slicing it, you're gonna preserve more of those trichomes. You're gonna have more of the actives, the cannabinoids and the terpenes.
Yes.
And more of that in your ground product means a better quality product, but it also means, like you were saying, less cleanup. Because if all that stuff gets knocked off your product, it's got to go somewhere. It's going to get stuck on the mesh or the screens or the gear, wherever it goes in that machine. And now you got to clean it up. And it's not in the product where you could actually be making some money off of it. So
that's the best part.
Yeah.
That's the goody right there. Yeah, that's the good stuff.
I love it. And just for the audience, the names of these products, this would be the Revolution series, correct?
Yes. So we've got the Revolution. There's a tabletop one, and then there's the big unit. We generally, if anybody's doing any kind of volume, any kind of throughput, we want them to get the larger, the Revolution 2.0. But if somebody's not doing a ton, they're just kind of going at their own pace or something like that, that little tabletop works great. And again, you're still getting that same technology, which is trying to preserve the flour and, like you said, the trichomes.
So what's the throughput on these two units in terms of like pounds per day or 1 gram cones per day?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it all is going to depend on the operator. It's all going to depend on how good your people are. But basically with our system, which is our grinder, the rocket box, the closer, that's kind of like our we call it our jump starter, like to get you going. You get a grinder, you get a rocket box, and you get a closer. You're cooking with gas right there. We can do up to 10,000 a day with not a ton of work, all the way up to 40,000. So it just matters which version you're using, how you mix and match them. But yeah, I mean, 40,000 pre-rolls a day. We've got people that are doing that right now. And as far as the grinders, their output, let me see here. I got something right here. So there's the Mini Revolution. That's the little tabletop one. That'll grind about 1 pound per minute. Okay. Low heat, low friction. Everything is, by the way, it's food grade stainless steel. So again, we're not worried about plastic and stuff getting into there. That's the mini rev. That's the little tabletop. And then we've got one more, which is the Revolution 2.0. That's the big mambo jambo. That one with the scissor cut technology, the big tabletop size, that'll do about 30 to 60 pounds an hour at low heat and low friction. So again, we're trying not to degrade the material before we get to the end. And like I was saying, we had a independent lab said that we were losing less than 1% terpene loss. And again, food grade stainless steel. So no plastic. You're not gonna be dealing with plastic or anything like that. This is real steel. And by the way, something kind of interesting, not a lot of manufacturing is still done in the United States. We manufacture these machines right in Spokane, Washington.
Oh, fantastic.
So
no tariffs.
we cut the no tariffs. You do not have to worry about the tariffs here. We're not gonna tack on an extra 20-30% because we're coming across the border. And so you're supporting American manufacturing. And we cut the metal, you know what I mean? We cut the steel. There is literally like almost nothing. I think maybe like some of the screens or something is the only part that we don't produce in-house, but everything else, it's all patented, it's all designed, it's all put together, quality tested right in Spokane, Washington. So that's just a nice thing to know. It also means if you ever have a problem, you pick up the phone and there's somebody there to help you out. You don't have to worry about time differences or not being able to get a hold of somebody overseas. And again, not talking smack about stuff that's from other countries. There's fine stuff all around, but customer service can be difficult. If you get some Chinese stuff or you get some stuff that is not made here in the USA, sometimes it's just buyer beware. You're on your own. Whereas here, you pick up the phone, we've got a whole client services team waiting to help you out. If say you have a problem, say motor goes out or a compressor or something like that, just normal wear and tear, we've got some operators that'll buy the stuff and just keep it on hand and then just switch it out right there. If you ever need help, we can jump on a Zoom 90% of the time and we can troubleshoot and walk you through and get you up and running. So again, I think that's one of those important things about it. If you're buying some machines and you want to get into automation, you're going to want to know that there's someone there to help you out down the road, and our machines and our system is set up like that.
Fantastic. All right. And we talked a little bit about potency and terpenes using this slicing technique. How do you feel that it affects like the burn quality as far as like canoeing and creating a more even burn? I mean, is there any information that you have regarding that?
Yeah, great question. And that kind of moves us to the next machine, which is the filling, right? So once you grind up your material and you've got it in a bucket, then all you do is you come and you just pour it right on top of it. You don't have to pre-measure or anything. The rocket box is going to take care of that itself. So you've already got the cones in there. You've got a top tray and a bottom tray sitting there. You just pour your materials on the top. And what's going to happen is once you turn the machine on and it starts vibrating, those pieces, those little tiny pieces that you just cut with the scissors, they're not all going to be uniform size, right? You're going to have some bigger ones. You're going to have some little ones. It's like Tetris. You're going to have some different size things. Well, they all work around inside there with the system so that they all fall into place, creating a nice even pack. And I can tell you, we don't have a lot of problems with the canoeing or the running. We've all experienced that before, right? With the pre-roll. I feel like ours are pretty good with that. And also, we don't have a problem with them packing too tight to where you can't draw. I was at MJ Biz a couple years ago, and there was one of those machines that makes pre-rolls. They actually sponsored one of the after parties, and they gave everybody a pre-roll to go outside. And people were outside, like trying to hit these things, and they couldn't draw. They were too tight. And what a sad thing. They probably spent a lot of money to sponsor that, and everybody was just going, I can't smoke this thing. I can't smoke this thing. So again, I think that's one of the things of our technology is once you get it dialed in, you're going to have a real consistent fill, and those pieces are going to just kind of fall into place, sort of like I was saying with Tetris, and you're going to have a nice even fill. Also, you won't have that Tom Sawyer joint. You ever have those little weak necks, those little, you know what I mean, where it's not strong, and so when you're holding it there, it kind of like comes down like that Tom Sawyer thing. We don't have weak necks. No weak necks here. These things tend to fill really, really nicely all the way to the top. And then once you're done, 45 seconds, you've just filled all 72. You just take that tray, lift it up, and then you go right over to the atomic closer. So it's just station to station, and each station you've got one person. So we had a company up in Michigan. They had 14 people on their pre-roll line, and then once they got our machines, they had it down to 6, and they're putting out volume. So you do the math, right? What is that going to do for an operator if you don't have to pay 14 people? If you're only paying 6, then you can put people some other place that you need some labor. But now the machines are doing it, and you've just got a couple key people there just keeping it moving.
Yeah, yeah. And with every one of those employees comes vacation and benefits and sick days and HR issues, potentially, hopefully not, all sorts of stuff. So no, that's a great selling point for the ROI, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, let's just be honest. Labor's one of the most expensive parts of operating a business, that overhead, and not just labor, hiring, retaining, training, all these areas. As a business owner, these are really important things, but they're not cheap. So these machines, when you put them in, that's why we joke around. I call them like droids, but like in Star Wars, those droids work, man. It's a protocol droid. They have jobs and they do them really well. That's kind of what these are like. These are like little machines, and you take care of them, and they're real workhorses. So yeah, it can definitely help save labor for those operators out there, because really in this day and age, you've got to try to find a way to be profitable however you can. And if you can save on some labor and keep the same quality or even improve it or increase your output, then that's generally a win-win.
Absolutely. So let me ask a quick question. You mentioned that you don't have to weigh out the product when you're putting it into them. Now, I've seen with other systems that they do weigh it out. A lot of times the laws are saying you can't go over this amount. You got to be within X percent or whatever. So we don't want anybody breaking any laws or regulations and getting fined or anything. So if they're not weighing out the product, is it just a volumetric thing? And it's just that once you get a consistent product, volumetrically, you know that everything is going to be consistent in that weight range?
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, we sell a scale. So we have 72 individual little load cells where you can take that tray and then you can set it on the scale, look at a heads up. It'll show you if any of them are above or under your range. So we understand that operators out there have to be within a specification, and they can't go over or under. They're going to get fined. They're going to be in trouble. So what we're saying is once you get it dialed in and once you go and you weigh them, they're going to be consistent because the top tray sits on the bottom tray, and there's just the right amount of space in there so that when you put the material, it'll only fill the cones up so far. And then all the excess material on the top of your tray that didn't go in the cones, that you can just reclaim, put it right back in your bucket, and then boom, you're good to go. So you don't have to pre-measure your material. It'll all come out in the end when you put it up there. They'll only fill up to the certain length that you've designated to hit your weight, whether it's 1 gram or half grams or dog walkers or whatever you're doing. You'll have that already set up already, so that once you put the material, you're cranking and you're just going. You don't have to stop and weigh unless you want to. There's some weighers out there that you have to weigh each pre-roll individually. Like I said, you can take 72, set them on there, look up, and you can check all of them to make sure they're there. That scale is really, really sensitive though, so you can't be operating that like under an air conditioner. Or we had some people once, they wanted to have a mobile rolling thing and they wanted to put that scale back there like in the back of a truck or a van, and we're like, those are sensitive. Those are 72 little cells. That's not going to work. But once you get dialed in, even if you just spot check and weigh them and stuff, you're going to be good because you have set the parameters of how much space is between that top and bottom tray, and it won't fill too much. It won't go too low. It's just you've already set that up, and then you can just rinse and repeat.
Well, that's awesome. I didn't realize that you had a scale that had 72 cells in it. That's really cool. I can imagine using that for setup to dial it in. If you did have any issues with, I don't know why you would, but if there was 1 or 2 cells within the unit that weren't filling properly, you could use that scale and pinpoint the problem right away using that. And then you can do your spot checks. If you've got a new product and it's fluffier or denser, you're obviously going to want to tune that in for that particular product. Maybe it's a little moister, it's a humid day or something, so you can always adjust it. But I really like that a lot. And it sounds like, from what you said, you can adjust the amount of product by adjusting the space between the trays. So if you're doing 109 millimeter, but you have a denser product, you can't fill it with the same amount as the fluffy product you just got done rolling, then you can just adjust the distance, dial it right into 1 gram or whatever you're shooting for in that size, and you're off to the races. Does that sound about
Yeah,
right?
that's exactly right. And so what you would do is you get some different size trays for the different size pre-rolls you're going to make. And then once they're filled, then boom, you go to closing. And people have different systems for closing. Some people close manually. We've got the atomic closer, which does that nice little Dutch crown that people really like, 72 at a time, right? So the same thing, right? Filling 70, infusing 72, closing 72. You're starting to notice a trend here. Everything is moving along the Santa's workshop 72 at a time. And so once you start doing that efficiently, those numbers do add up. So on the Rocket Box side, that's where we've got the mini Rocket Box Plus. That's the small 72 pre-rolls at a time, and that will do about 10,000 pre-rolls a day. So you'll be able to fill 10,000 pre-rolls a day with just that mini Rocket Box Plus. And then we've got the Rocket Box 2.0. That's the one I was telling you about, where it's like 453. That's the big mambo jambo, but it doesn't fit in the 72 count tray workflow. So you'd have to move those to the trays, but that'll do 20,000 a day. Okay, so now you're filling 20,000 a day. The Rocket Box 3.0, that's the one we just came out with, which is designed for infused material, homogenized stuff. That one is going to be similar to the mini Rocket Box Plus. And then we have a Rocket Box Pro. The Rocket Box Pro, this is for, I told you our stuff works from small craft. This is for like co-packers. And it's got like 5 mini rocket boxes. So you've got 5 72 count trays. You look like you're standing in a DJ booth, right? And right there, you can have different sizes and different strains all going at the same time. And you've got 5 of those things going with strain integrity, with size integrity in each one. And that thing is it's just a beast, man. It just cranks out. So you'd be doing 40,000 a day with that. And again, you can be having different sizes, different strains. You use the same well each one over and over, so you have integrity with your material and everything like that. And yeah, some people will just get 2 mini Rocket Box Pluses. Some will get that big old Pro. It doesn't matter. We've got a machine that will fit you. You don't have to fit in with our stuff. Our stuff will fit in with what you're trying to do. And again, that's one of the cool things. You get to kind of customize it. You ever ordered a car online? That's how you do it now. Have you ever done that?
No, not yet. No.
It's pretty cool because you get to go on your pick, and I want this model, and I want this color, I want the tow hitch, I want that, right? And so when it's all said and done, you spent a bunch of money, but you've customized your car. It's the same thing here. You're going to customize your tech setup. Okay, I want this grinder. I want this rocket box. I want this here. I'm going to do these sizes. And again, we'll kind of guide you along the way so you're not going to be, we don't want overkill either. We've had some people that are like, oh yeah, I want your mini rocket box. It does 453. And we're like, how many pre-rolls are you doing? And they're like, oh, about 3,000 a month. And we're like, okay, wait a minute, stop. You don't need that big of a machine for this here. Let's not kill an ant with a sledgehammer. Let's dial this back a little bit. And so again, we'll work with people, and sometimes your tech stack will change. Sometimes your needs will change. We're always there. We've got different programs. Sometimes we can buy back machines, help you get into some others. So yeah, most important thing is we're working with you. But I would say that Rocket Box, that's what we're kind of known for, is that machine that just absolutely just works. It fills that space in between the knockbox and then those really, really expensive kind of all-in-one type machines. It just fits in there so nice. And now we've got several different versions of the Rocket Box depending on what you need. So that's definitely the straw that stirs the drink. And I would say that after that,
before we leave the Rocket Box,
yeah.
You had mentioned, you talked a bit about how it's really good at nestling all the different size particles in there to create a well-packed but not too dense cone. Is there a particular technology that separates this step from competitors? Is it a little bit different how you guys do that, or?
Yeah, I think it's just in the way that ours works. There's other vibrating machines out there, but I think that ours just is just kind of that sweet spot where we've actually got some videos. If you check out our website, stmcanna.com, you'll see some videos where it almost like it twists like a tornado. The material, you can see it inside there. It doesn't just pack up and down. it kind of swirls a little bit. So I don't know if that's proprietary. I don't know if that's just kind of the way the secret sauce comes together, the way the motors work and everything like that. But it just does produce a very satisfying fill. And I think that that's something that a lot of machines would like to do. Ours actually does a pretty good job at it. We're not great at everything. There's no one machine out there that's perfect at everything. But I'll tell you this, when it comes to filling cones, we really, really have a good system.
Okay. All right. Sounds like it creates a little vortex in there. It probably helps.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Do you guys have a particular machine for infusing?
If somebody's wanting to do infusing, we have the Astro Infuser, which is basically the same kind of machine, 72 count tray, and it's gonna you fill your reservoir with your material there. It has it heated or however you want, runs through. And it's basically like 12 individual little pumps, like needles, like you would pump up a ball. They go down in there as far as you want, whatever kind of material you want. It puts the material in there, pulls out, then moves to the next. And you'll do the whole 72 in, let's see here, the Astro Infuser. Yeah, you'll infuse 72 pre-rolls in about 90 seconds. But basically, you have consistency, you have the potency that consumers want, and again, you have a lower labor cost. They're not having to infuse these things manually. Another thing is that we can also use that same infuser, and you can fill carts. So again, it's a really, really valuable tool to have there. It's something that I think is a growing category in the pre-roll side. I think people like the idea of, aren't pre-rolls one of the most popular categories of cannabis consumption? I think it's like flower is number one and pre-rolls are two, or maybe even pre-rolls have passed. But a lot of people don't want to have to roll. They want to just go in there. They want to pick out what they want, and they want to be able to enjoy it with their friends or whatever. So pre-rolls, I think they got a bad rap back in the day that it's just all the leftover crap and everything like that. Now there's some really good pre-rolls out there, and especially these ones that they're infusing. We're just helping people be able to do that with the Astro Infuser.
Yeah. I think there's probably a lot of folks out there nowadays who don't know how to roll a joint. So that's probably part of the issue too.
Yeah.
If you go to the dispensary and you buy a big sack of flour and then what? I guess you need a pipe. So with the infuser, what types of concentrate, what types of product can you infuse in there?
Pretty much anything. The system is closed from where it goes to the reservoir, out, and then goes through the needles into the pre-rolls right there. It's completely closed. So it uses like hydraulic and it's able to move that stuff there. So we started out doing it with honey. I think that viscosity is very close to what a lot of the materials using, and it can move that stuff no problem. So it's kind of up to the operator. We don't have a limit on what you can use. It's just got to be something that can go in that reservoir, but it should be able to move through our system. And then afterwards, cleaning is relatively easy for working with such sticky stuff. You know what I mean? You just kind of go through and you rinse it out. And then you're back ready to go. But you do have to, again, you got to maintain these things. You're working with really, really sticky stuff. Don't think you're going to just like fill thousands of those and then just like turn the lights off and go. You got to maintain this bad boy. You got to keep it clean. But people really do like the fact that it can put as much material as you want, where you want within the pre-roll. And then once you get it dialed in, again, you're infusing and you're going. And now you've got a really ultimate pre-roll with a nice little hash hole.
Nice. So I got to ask, somebody tried smoking that honey infused. I'm sure somebody tried it.
Guilty. It's funny.
Did it make you cough, or was it actually sweet?
So here's the deal. I didn't actually do it, but what people do is when we do these demos at the trade shows, we use hemp, right? Because that's what you use for the demos. And we use honey instead of using like real infused material. So anyways, we make these things, and then once it's gone through, there's like, we have them so people can hold them and touch them, and they've got a little container of them, and people will be grabbing those and like shoving them in their pocket, and they're grabbing them, putting in their thing, and they're walking away, and we're like, they're gonna have an interesting experience when they try to smoke that. But no, I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, they'll be like, hey, look over there, and they're like taking the pre-rolls that we just did in the demo, not knowing They're about to get some sous vide honey. But no,
Yeah.
it's really important that we're keeping up with what the demands are of the consumer. And you know as well as anybody that trends, they come and go. People want things and they don't want things or whatever. And so this was kind of the result of, hey, there's more infused pre-rolls being demanded. And so we've got to create some technology to help people do it. And then again, that's where that RocketBox 3.0 comes out, where it's got a much stronger motor and it can work with that homogenized sticky material, which is different. So just a different kind of iteration, changing the motor and making it a little bit stronger. And now all of a sudden it's designed for what some operators are focusing on.
And yeah, so now let's talk about the closers then. Same sort of flow here. You've got multiple different machines, different throughputs and whatnot. Let's talk about those.
Yeah. So you're looking at once you get over to the closer. We introduced this a couple years ago at MJ BizCon in Vegas, and we had an area set up where we could do demos, and people would come and see this thing close, and it just blew their mind. A lot of people that we talk to, they're closing manually. They want to have, I think that most people out there that we hear from, they want to have a Dutch crown. Twister okay, but I just feel like the really nice little Dutch, it kind of feels premium. It has an element of, okay, this is nice, this is classy. Like a Twisty's okay, but I think that most operators out there, they want to be able to sell that Dutch crown, and our machine does that. So you just put once you filled your 72, you just set it right there. You've already calibrated it, and you've got it all set up to your size, to your material, and everything like that. You just set it up over there, and you just push a button. And then it goes, and 12 at a time, it closes them. You'll do, with the Atomic Closer, our newest version, the Turbo, you'll do 72 joints. It'll close them perfectly in just under 30 seconds.
Nice.
So you're looking at 4,250 perfect closes an hour.
Very nice. Yeah, I prefer
So
the
not
Dutch
bad.
crown myself. I'm a little weird, but if I smoke a cone or a joint, like I like to take the lighter and just run it along the edge of that crown so I can pull off the paper off the end, because nobody likes starting a J and puffing down paper. And, and you can blow it out, but I prefer to remove it. I feel like it's cleaner that way. In fact, when I hand twist, I make it into a Dutch crown with my fingers so I can do that exact step. My personal little signature.
Skill level achieved, unlocked. Yeah, nice.
So let's talk just a minute about papers. What do these machines work with? Are there any ones they don't work with? Do you guys have your own proprietary paper? Yeah.
Great question. We work with most everybody. We play nice with most everybody. I'll tell you, if somebody's got really cheap cones, you can get cones from overseas that are really, really cheap. They're not quite the same quality. You're going to have more trouble. You're going to have more trouble in our machine. You're going to have more trouble in anybody's machine because they're just not the same quality. But if you use a good quality paper out there, zigzags work really great with us. Raw, even Hara, you know what I mean? The thing is, it's kind of dealer's choice. So you can use whatever kind of papers you want. You just want to make sure that you've got the right ones and the right size. And again, get them dialed in, right? With the material, with what you're trying to do. Again, where your location is, your humidity, all that stuff is gonna play a role in it. But just having good quality papers that are going to be consistent, you'll have a lot less failures. If you have cheap papers, then it's gonna muck up the operation a lot more than if you have some good quality papers.
Makes sense.
Yeah. We should do papers though. It makes sense, right? Sell the machines and sell the papers. It's like selling the Keurigs and then selling the pods.
You can make a lot more off selling the consumables than the equipment, but
make more money selling the ink.
Who am I to tell you how to do your business?
you make more money selling the ink than you do selling the printer, right?
Right, exactly. So we talked a bit about how these machines can displace the current labor, and I think a lot of that, the savings is pretty self-evident. But do you have any figures as far as ROI? Like if you buy this setup, it's going to pay for itself within 1,000, 2,000, whatever the number of joints, or within a month or something like that. Do you have any numbers like that we can run out?
We've actually, that's a great question. Everybody's situation is going to be a little bit different. Their setup, their cost, their labor, how much they're producing, how much they're selling them for. But we do have an ROI calculator on our website, so people could go to stmcanna.com and they can find that, and they can kind of plug in their information, and then it'll just populate when you be able to pay this off by, or how. And we offer some creative stuff too. We do like some in-house financing. We do some third-party financing to help people get in here. And then again, we came out with that RollCraft line. That RollCraft line, really, when we tell people the price, they can get that jump starter that I was talking about, the grinder, the rocket box, the atomic closer on the RollCraft line, honestly, for less than just one of our STM Canna atomic closers. So now they're getting the whole setup, and you're going to be able to pay that, what you invested in those machines. You're going to be able to get that back pretty quick, and then you're going to be on the plus side. We're not even talking about just your labor savings, but we're talking in just owning that machine free and clear, and having that be a part. It's not going to take long, especially with the RollCraft. It might take a little longer with the STM lines, but just because they're a little bit more on the price point of getting in, a little more bells and whistles, a little bit more. But the RollCraft, man, you can get into that, and you can have that thing paid for in what you're getting back in a couple of months easily.
Fantastic.
So yeah, it all just depends on your situation. Again, for some people out there, man, those big all-in-ones, that's what they want, right? They don't want to have any labor. They want just one of these big things that looks like a 1960s IBM computer, where if one thing goes out, you better have an astrophysicist on the team that can go in there and fix it. And that's okay. That's what they want. Other people, they have an affinity for their machines. They're brand loyal. They like what they like. That's cool. We're not here to tell anybody how to do it. We just pass along what we're learning from our people in the field and what they tell us and the feedback they give us. And these machines, once people get into them and once they get dialed in, they're really, really happy, and they last a long time. So if you look at it like an investment, we don't want to end up in that machine graveyard we were talking about people that buy stuff and then it just doesn't work and it ends up being a big paperweight. We want to make sure that we can get you in there, get you trained up, keep working with you. And then once you've paid for these machines, now, like I said, it's like having a member of the team that you don't have to put on payroll anymore. You don't have to pay payroll taxes on them anymore. You don't have to pay any of that stuff anymore, because you'll once you own them, man, those things are going to be working for you for a really long time. And now your team's going to be all dialed in. Then you can be looking to do some add-ons and stuff. You can reinvest in your line with some new stuff that comes out, or pick up an infuser when you're ready to go that route. But it's just a real nice way to where you can dip your toes in the water. You can have real professional equipment backed up by a real company that answers the phone. And at the end of the day, be super proud of the pre-rolls that you're putting out. We've got a lot of people using our machines that are winning awards for their pre-rolls, and we kind of take that personally. Like we work behind the scenes, so we don't always get the credit, but we know what they use to make those award-winning pre-rolls, and a lot of times it's our stuff, and we all feel that win. We take pride in that. We want people putting out great pre-rolls because people care about that quality, and our machines definitely help them do that at scale.
All right. Well, Chuck, thank you so much for your time today. And we covered a lot of different aspects of the pre-roll processing and the equipment, and really appreciate you taking the time, Chuck. And for our customers and folks wanting to get a hold of STM Canna or RollCraft equipment, just give us a call, reach out. Should be a number up there somewhere, and we'll definitely hook you up. And maybe we'll jump on a three-way call with Chuck as well. And we'll get you dialed in with the exact right setup for your needs. So thanks again, and we'll see you next week.
Let's roll.